Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I'm Dr. Manpreet Arora from Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dharamshala. Today we are going to talk about a module, SEBI, under the paper Business Environment. After completing this module, you'll be able to understand the history and purpose of SEBI, working and functions of SEBI, and you will know about the SEBI's current role. Financial liberalization made it imperative to create such an environment where investor protection is must, so that all the players of the market are equally benefited. Without strict restrictions, the right of issuers, intermediaries, and investors cannot be balanced and equally protected in a liberalized and a privatized financial market. Therefore, in order to create a healthy and protective financial environment in the country, SEBI was created as an apex body which has regulatory and developmental role in the capital market and stock exchanges in India. This module will help you to understand the role and working of SEBI in financial system of India. SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. It was established in 1988 to regulate the functions of securities market in India. It is entrusted with the job of regulating securities market in India. It was given statutory powers on 12th April 1992 by passing SEBI Act in 1992. Initially, SEBI just acted as a watchdog and was inefficient in regulation and control of the stock market. It now helps to promote orderly and healthy development of the stock market. In May 1992, it was granted as legal structure and thereby, through law, it gained a separate existence. It has now perpetual existence and a separate legal entity. Initially, SEBI was a non-statutory body without any statutory power. In 1995, SEBI was given additional statutory powers by Government of India through an amendment to the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act 1992. In April 1988, the SEBI was constituted as the regulator of capital markets in India under a resolution of the Government of India. Now let us know why SEBI was initiated. As the transactions increased in the stock markets, there was a huge increase in malpractices in various issues. Various problems in the dealings of stock markets shackled the confidence of investors, and customers started losing confidence and faith in stock exchanges. Therefore, Government of India decided to set up an institution which would not only monitor the workings of stock exchanges, but also it will regulate and control them so as to safeguard the interest of the investor. Before the startup of SEBI, Controller of Capital Issues acted as the regulator authority of the stock exchanges. It derived its powers from Capital Issue Control Act 1947. In 1980s, India witnessed phenomenal growth and development of securities market. The Indian economy showed a potential to mobilize the savings of household sector, which helps to boost the industrial sector. Many other factors also contributed to the growth of Indian securities market. Many companies in early 1980s raised huge resources in debt instruments from the market, which sustained the interest of investors. In 1980s, India entered the phase of liberalization and decontrol, which spurred the growth of the market. The securities market of India became an integral part of the financial system of the country. The corporate sector hugely became dependent on the securities market for meeting their financial requirements. Earlier, only developmental financial institutions were the sources which fulfilled the demand of long-term credit. So, there was the emergence of securities market in 1980s, which was one of the major and important economic process of the country. These changes gave birth to various intermediaries also. either in the form of institutions or in the form of individuals. Several investment opportunities emerged in the market. In spite of these developments, there was an absence of professional ethics and healthy competition among various players of the market. Thereby, in order to give a boost to the market and sustain the growth of the market, it became imperative to create and build an environment of protection for investors and related groups. It became necessary to remove the malpractices and inadequacies prevalent in the market. Keeping in mind all such things, the Government of India felt the need for setting up an apex body for the protection of existing and potential investors in the market. This body was also felt crucial for orderly and healthy development of the securities market. Hence, SEBI was formulated on April 12, 1988 by passing an administrative resolution as an interim body under the control of Union Ministry of Finance. After the enactment of SEBI Act 1992, Capital Issues Control Act 1947 was repealed. SEBI Act 1992 lays down the objectives of SEBI and its powers and functions. Securities Exchange Board of India also issued disclosure and investor protection guidelines in 1992, which laid down the framework for issue of the capital by certain categories of companies. Let us discuss about the objectives of SEBI. Securities Exchange Board of India was initiated with the main objective of keeping a check on the malpractices in the stock markets. It aims to protect the interest of the investors. It was set up to meet the need of the three groups, and these three groups are issuers, investors, and intermediaries. Firstly, let us talk about issuers. For issuers, it helps to provide such a market environment where they can raise finance with ease and fair market practices. Secondly, let us know about investors. For investors, it helps to protect and safeguard their rights. It is also helping them to provide correct and accurate information regarding various investment opportunities available in the market. Thirdly, SEBI is playing a dominant role in protecting the rights of intermediaries also. For intermediaries, it helps them to provide a competitive professional market. Let us understand that what has been defined under preamble of SEBI. The preamble of Securities and Exchange Board of India describes the basic functions of the Securities Exchange and Board of India as to protect the interest of investors in securities and to promote the development of and to regulate the securities market and for the matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. The overall objectives of Securities Exchange Board of India are to protect the interest of investors and to promote the development of stock exchanges and to regulate the activities of the stock market. We've already discussed that how SEBI is helping these three parties to have a healthy competition in the market. Now let us find out of this preamble that what are the objectives of SEBI. So according to the preamble, the objectives of SEBI comes out to be: first, to regulate, control, monitor the activities of stock exchanges in India. Secondly, to protect the rights of the investors. And by protecting the rights of the investors, it is ensuring safety to the investment. Thirdly, to prevent any kind of fraudulent or malpractices which can affect the investors' interest by having a balance between self-regulation of the business and its statutory regulations. Fourthly, the basic objective comes out to be SEBI is acting as a regulator and is also developing a code of conduct for the intermediaries. And who can be the intermediaries? They can be the brokers, they can be the underwriters, etc. Let us discuss about various committees which have been formulated by SEBI to achieve its objectives. There are various committees which are working in SEBI for the achievement of its objectives. These committees are, firstly, Technical Advisory Committee. Then there is a committee for review of structure of market infrastructure institutions. Then there is an advisory committee for SEBI, Investor Protection and Education Fund. There is also a committee known as Takeover Regulation Advisory Committee. Further, it has also a Primary Market Advisory Committee. SEBI also constitutes a committee for secondary market, which is known as Secondary Market Advisory Committee. SEBI also tries to keep a check on mutual fund activities, and for that, it has created a separate committee. This committee is known as Mutual Fund Advisory Committee. For corporate bonds and securities, there is a further different committee. This committee is called as Corporate Bonds and Securitization Advisory Committee. Let us now understand about the SEBI's board. The board of members of SEBI consists of a chairman, 2 members from the officials of the ministers of the central government dealing with finance and law, from amongst the officials of the Reserve Bank of India, 2 members appointed by central government who would be professionals with adequate knowledge of securities market. The thrust of the board activities relies on the act of promoting the safeguard of interest of the investors and helping them to promote orderly development of securities market. It helps to register and regulate the workings of stockbrokers, sub-brokers, share transfer agents, bankers for the issue, merchant bankers, underwriters, etc. It also helps to promote self-regulatory organizations. The board rests the power to call information from the companies, undertake inspections, conduct inquiries, etc. in order to prohibit fraudulent and unfair trade practices in the securities market. Let us find out what are the functions of the board. Subject to the provisions of this Act, it is the duty of the board to protect the interests of the investors as it deems to think fit. It ensures the promotion, the development, and the regulation of the securities market by providing certain functions. These functions are, firstly, regulatory functions. Secondly, developmental functions. The regulatory functions of the board includes, firstly, the board helps to regulate the business of the stock exchanges and any other securities market. The board helps to register and regulate the workings of all the intermediaries of the stock exchanges or securities market. These can be the stockbrokers, sub-brokers, share transfer agents, underwriters, factors, bankers to the issue, merchant bankers, portfolio managers, investment advisors, trustees of the trust deeds, registrars to the issue. No stockbroker or a sub-broker or a share transfer agent or a banker to an issue or a trustee of a trust deed, or a registrar to an issue, or a merchant banker, or an underwriter, or a portfolio manager or an investment advisor or such any other intermediary who may be associated with the securities market shall buy, sell, or deal in any securities except under and in accordance with the conditions of a certificate of registration obtained from the board in accordance with the regulations made under this Act. Provided that a person buying or selling securities or otherwise dealing with the securities market as a stockbroker, sub-broker, share transfer agent, banker to the issue, trustee of the trust deed, registrar to an issue, merchant banker, underwriter, portfolio manager, investment advisors, and such other intermediaries who may be associated with the securities market immediately before the establishment of the board, for which no registration certificate was necessary prior to such establishments, may continue to do so for a period of 3 months from such establishment, or if he has made an application for such registration within the said period of 3 months till the disposal of such application. It regulates and registers the working of collective investment schemes. It includes regulation and control of mutual funds. It also regulates and controls self-regulatory organizations. It takes necessary steps and actions to prohibit fraudulent as well as unfair trade practices which are prevalent in the market to safeguard the interest of investors. It also takes preventive actions to stop and control insider trading. It regulates substantial acquisitions of shares and takeovers of the companies. Moreover, it can call for information of any of the player of the market. Further, it can even conduct inquiries and audit of the stock exchanges. Further, SEBI has the power to inquire or conduct investigation of any of the intermediary or the self-regulating organizations in the securities market. SEBI can call any kind of information for undertaking inspection, conducting inquiries, and audits of stock exchanges, mutual funds, and other persons who are associated with the securities markets and intermediaries and self-regulatory organizations in the stock market. SEBI has even the power that it can levy fees or charges on any of the financial intermediary. Let us now discuss the functions of SEBI. SEBI is performing a wide variety of functions. The SEBI performs the functions of promotion, development, and regulations to regulate, monitor, and develop the capital markets in India. So, SEBI takes steps to check price rigging in the stock markets. Price rigging refers to the manipulation of the prices of the securities with the main objective of inflating or depressing the market price of the securities. SEBI also takes necessary actions to prohibit such practices because it can harm the interest of the investors as well as the other financial intermediaries. So therefore, SEBI is acting as a price checker. Another important action taken by SEBI is to control the insider trading activities. Insider is a person who is connected with the company, such as directors, promoters. These people have various kind of information with them. These insiders may use sensitive information relating to the company which can affect the prices of the securities. This information is not available to the general public at large, but the insiders know and they have an access to such information as they work inside the company. And if they start using this information to make profits, then this practice is known as insider trading. SEBI keeps an eye and ensures strict checks when insiders are buying securities of the company and takes strict actions on insider trading. SEBI does not allow the companies to make misleading and false statements, which can likely induce the sale or purchase of securities by any other person by affecting his judgment and rationality. SEBI also undertakes steps to educate investors so that they are able to evaluate the securities of various companies and select the most profitable securities. SEBI is playing a great role in promotion of fair practices. Thereby, it is also establishing a code of conduct in the security market. Moreover, SEBI is also issuing guidelines to protect the interest of the debenture holders, wherein companies cannot change the conditions and the terms and conditions which have been given to the debenture holders in midterm. SEBI has also the power to investigate the cases of insider trading and has provisions, heavy penalty and imprisonment too. SEBI is also a promoter, and that's why SEBI promotes various training programs of intermediaries of the securities market for effective functioning of the market. Further, SEBI is also trying hard to promote certain activities. Say, SEBI tries to promote the activities of stock exchanges by adopting flexible as well as adoptable approaches. SEBI has framed rules and regulations and a code of conduct to regulate the intermediaries such as merchant bankers, brokers, underwriters, etc. These intermediaries have been brought under the regulatory purview and the private placement has been made more restrictive. SEBI also registers and regulates the workings of various intermediaries. It includes stockbrokers, sub-brokers, share transfer agents, trustees, merchant bankers, and all those people who are associated directly or indirectly with the stock exchange in any manner. SEBI is playing another important role in the area of mutual funds. That is why SEBI registers and regulates the working of mutual funds. SEBI also takes care of certain transactions occurring in the market in the form of mergers, acquisitions. So SEBI regulates the takeover of the companies. It also has a regulatory and a controller role on the stock exchanges, and that is why SEBI conducts inquiries and the audit of stock exchanges. Let us know about the prohibition of manipulative and deceptive devices, insider trading, and substantial acquisition of securities or control. Prohibition of manipulative and deceptive devices, insider trading, and substantial acquisition of securities or control has been covered under Section 12A of the SEBI Act. According to SEBI Act, it clearly mentions that no person shall directly or indirectly use or employ in connection with the issue, purchase or sale of any securities listed or proposed to be listed on a recognized stock exchange, any manipulative or deceptive device or contravenes in contravention of the provisions of the Act or the rules or the regulations made thereunder. Employ any device, start any scheme, or artifice to defraud in connection with the issue or dealing in securities which are listed or proposed to be listed on a recognized stock exchange. Engage in any act, practice, or any course of business which operates or would operate as a fraud. It covers deception or deceit upon any person in interconnection with the issue, dealing in securities which are listed or proposed to be listed on a recognized stock exchange in contravention of the provisions of the Act or the rules or the regulations made thereunder. Engage in insider trading. Deal in securities while in possession of material or non-public information. Communicate such material or non-public information to any other person in a manner which is in contravention with the provisions of this Act or rules or the regulations made thereunder. Acquire control of any company or securities more than the percentage of equity share capital of a company whose securities are listed or proposed to be listed on a recognized stock exchange in contravention of the regulations made under this Act. Let us know about the Securities Appellate Tribunal. Securities Appellate Tribunal is a statutory body established under the provisions of Section 15K of the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act 1992 to hear and dispose of appeals against orders passed by Securities and Exchange Board of India or by any adjudicating officer under the Act, and to exercise jurisdiction, powers, and authority conferred onto the tribunal by or under this Act or any other law for the time being in force. The jurisdiction of Securities Appellate Tribunal at Mumbai extends to whole of India. States that a Securities Appellate Tribunal shall consist of a presiding officer and 2 other members to be appointed by notification by the central government, provided that the Securities Appellate Tribunal, consisting of 1 person only, established before the commencement of the Securities Exchange Board of India, Act 2002, shall continue to exercise the jurisdiction, the powers, the authority conferred on it by or under this Act or any other law for the time being in force till 2 other members are appointed under this section. The Securities Appellate Tribunal shall not be bound by the procedures which have been laid down by the Code of Civil Procedure 1908, but shall be guided by the principles of natural justice, as well as subject to other provisions of this Act of any rules. The Securities Appellate Tribunal has the powers to regulate its own procedure, including the places at which they shall have their sittings. The Securities Appellate Tribunal has for the purpose of discharging its functions under the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act 1992 has same powers which are vested in civil court under the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. While trying a suit in respect of the matters, namely summoning and enforcing the attendance of any person and examining him on oath. Further, requiring the discovery and production of documents receiving evidence or affidavits, issuing commissions for the examination of witnesses or documents. It also covers reviewing of its decisions. It has the power of dismissing an application for default or deciding its ex parte, for setting aside any order or dismissal of any application for default or any other order passed by it ex parte, or even if any other matter which may be prescribed. Every proceeding before the Securities Appellate Tribunal shall be deemed to be a judicial proceeding within the meanings of sections 193 and 228, and for the purposes of section 196 of Indian Penal Code. And the Securities Appellate Tribunal shall be deemed to be a civil court for all the purposes of section 195 and chapter 26 of Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. Let's summarize before I finish. SEBI is playing an important role to protect the interests of investors in the security market. It's a protector of their rights. SEBI promotes the development of securities market and takes care of various steps for the proper regulation of the market. All the matters connected to this market also come under the prevalence of the SEBI. Over the period of time, SEBI has enjoyed a great success as a regulator by pushing and enforcing systematic reforms aggressively and successively. SEBI is credited for quick movement towards making the markets electronic and paperless, with a view to promote sustainable growth of the mutual fund industry and effective channelization of domestic savings. SEBI has suggested a long-term policy in relation to mutual funds, with the aim of increasing participation of investors in the IPO process. SEBI has resolved to widen the broker network of stock exchanges for the purpose of distributing IPOs in electronic form. Thank you.